Welcome back, everybody. So the hustle and bustle of the holidays can bring unexpected medical concerns, including an increased risk for heart attack and stroke. Several studies have shown that the incidence of heart attack and stroke increase in both December and January, particularly on Christmas Day and then also New Year's Day. The last thing you want to hear right now, but we're here to help protect you. So joining me now to talk about this holiday heart, they call it, and the risks and what you can do to stay healthy is Dr. Claire Haga, a family medicine physician with Mayo Clinic. Thanks so much for coming in. I feel like this could actually start at Thanksgiving too, because you are, so much salt and everything, but that does kind of kick off the season, and then it's kind of weeks and weeks and weeks of bad choices.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what contributes to that?
So I think there's a couple things. I think certainly the increased stress. So whether that's from shopping, traveling, extra parties and engagements that people have, probably poor choices. So when we're choosing foods, tend to be a little bit higher in salt and fat than maybe our typical routines.
So is everyone at risk? I mean, if I'm generally healthy, I'm not as much at risk, but someone who may be on the cusp of having an issue may not even be aware of it yet. They could see some of these symptoms.
Certainly. And so if you have any pre-existing conditions, things like hypertension, if you've ever had a stroke or a heart attack, much higher risk. And then also as we tend to get older, that plays a different factor as well.
So some people who have no idea that they have a problem could experience what during the holidays, the symptoms wise?
Sure. So we do think about actually atrial fibrillation. So irregular heart rates is probably one of the big new factors that plays a role. So that can be symptoms of shortness of breath, heart racing, lightheadedness. Sometimes people just feel completely wiped out or drained.
That can affect people year round, right?
Absolutely.
As far some people just kind of live with it.
So there's a couple different kinds. So it can kind of be spontaneous where it comes on and off. There can be people that have it chronically, so that's their baseline rhythm. But we too also, similar with heart attack and stroke, see an increased incidence of these irregular rhythms also around the holidays. And that's felt to be related to probably increased alcohol, again, the increased stress, salt, caffeine, another common cause as well.
Can this be triggered, from a weekend of indulgence, or is it progressive and it'll get worse over time?
So we do see a little bit higher incidence when there's increased indulgence, particular kind of binge episodes or things that are out of your typical behavior. So if you tend to be moderate in your salt intake or your alcohol intake, and then let's say you go to multiple parties or you do partake in a little bit more activities during a single party, that certainly would play a higher risk.
So moderation, really the key here. Yeah, which is kind of hard to do sometimes when you're thinking about all the fun that you have. And some of the other things, exercise, that always helps to balance things out as well.
Absolutely. So we want you to maintain your regular exercise activity. If you're not typically into exercise, even think about taking a long walk after a meal, and that certainly can help.
Yeah, I ran before Thanksgiving. And then I probably consumed about 3,000 calories. Also knowing those symptoms, because they do vary for men and women. And, for women, it may just be that you feel different or unusual, and that may be an indicator that you're having an issue with your heart.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so knowing what are some of the other symptoms you should look out for.
So thinking about, when we're thinking about a heart attack, so you think about the typical chest pain or pressure. Sometimes that can also be jaw pain, tooth pain, that's unusual, arm pain, numbness, and even nausea. When we think about stroke, so really think about change, so inability to speak, any new weakness, or sensory changes, so inability to feel normally. And then with the atrial fibrillation, so that other irregular heart rhythm. So that's going to be your shortness of breath. Sometimes it feels like a ping pong ball in your chest, lightheadedness, or even what you were saying. So just feeling completely wiped out or just different than usual.
So just be aware of it, especially over the holidays, and especially if you're hanging out on the weekend having a good time and you start to notice those symptoms. They could be more serious than just, I'm going to lay down. And maybe you need to contact your doctor.
Absolutely. So go contact your doctor, try to get an appointment, or even go to the emergency room.
Yeah, in some cases. And they'll check you out. All right,
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming in. So if you missed any of this information, don't worry. We will post this on our website, newsforjax.com. And of course, we don't want to scare you, but it is so important that we think about these things around the holidays so that it's enjoyable for everyone. We always have that Take It to Heart section, and that certainly is a big help.